So Watch Dogs 2 came out 10 years ago this year, later this year in November, which I can't quite get my head around still, to be honest. So I thought, let's go play it again and see if it still hits the same. And the thing is, even it feels like 2016 when you play it. Something about the use of those bright colours, the San Francisco setting, the quirky characters, the humour, etc. Compared to that dark vibe of the first entry, which is still a great one, don't get me wrong. I actually loved that game, it's one of my favourite games. But they really nailed the vibe they were going for in this one, and it's just a game I wanted to check out right now. And you know, a lot of people are looking back at 2016 right now, so what better time to do so. The main thing I love about the Watch Dogs franchise as a whole is the theme and the overall concept of the games. It's so unique in terms of not only the theme and the plot of it all, but also the gameplay design. Getting to blend like the combat, the traversal system, and a standout factor being the hacking system. Getting to step into the shoes of a hacker and just be so independent and, you know, mysterious I guess, but I definitely got that vibe more with the first game, whereas this one, it just feels way more fun and less secretive, even just looking at the main headquarters. So like the first game had that very cold and private area of the bunker in that like underground abandoned bit of Chicago, and then now we've set up space in the back of a public store on the high street, which already makes it feel way more playful. Even the main character of Marcus being pretty much the polar opposite to Aiden, I'd say. Way more social and expressive. Again, matching the overall tone of the game. It's my favourite Ubisoft franchise behind Assassin's Creed, because let's be real, a lot of Ubisoft titles, you do expect the same sort of stuff, and half the time it is a generic open world game, whereas it could look like that on the surface for this game, but that unique gameplay factor where you can control so many things and just have fun and mess around with it just makes the game stand out to me. And it's funny how they went with not carrying that on, because we got news that it's pretty much abandoned. I heard it was sort of abandoned a few years ago and now it's pretty much being confirmed, so they aren't carrying that on, but then they go ahead with a game like Avatar, for example, which just felt like a Far Cry DLC. And having that hacking gameplay, it makes you focus on the environment more and just appreciate it, to use it to your advantage. So like the cameras, the traffic lights, explosives, areas out of sight to sneak up on or place a drone on. A lot of games have that sort of repetitive loop where you're clearing out a bunch of enemies and moving on, and you could easily fall into that with this game and have a basic combat encounter. Instead, it's sort of up to you to make it more thought out and, you know, careful and way slower paced, and actually have a plan to follow, hopefully leaving unnoticed, or even just, you know, giving it a go rather than running in. And that's exactly why it's aging well, you know. It stands out because of it doesn't have that, you know, loop to it where you'd be better off doing the exact same gameplay formula but in a better looking and a better running modern game. And so far we haven't really got one similar to this gameplay yet. It also makes every mission feel quite rewarding afterwards if you do it the right way and it goes your way. You yourself could hack guards and their gadgets, make distractions, and use all those different systems together. And most of the time it does work, as that is what the game is pushing you to do, and you feel way more clever rather than super overpowered. I would have liked a bit more weapon customization, so you could edit attachments and make your gun silent. Either that or have the enemy detection lowered a bit. Although they do push the stealth side, it's still quite a challenge to go flawless. And yeah, I think having a few more suppressed weapons would help a lot, so we could use those guns more in a stealth mission rather than only when it gets loud. That's just me though, I'm not amazing at going stealthily in any game. Hey, you! One thing that I do feel Ubisoft always nails is the overall NPC atmosphere in their games. Just by going down the street or something and seeing all of them have their own little lives and, you know, people arguing, filming each other, working, or like street performers, and you notice them throughout this entire game. And maybe I'm looking at it a bit too much, but it really does match the vibe of 2016 so well. Like the fashion, definitely, but also that, again, vibrant colour, the music, and also like the rise of the technology push, which was a big thing back then. It still is now, but obviously that was like, you know, them saying, you know, technology is the future and whatnot. It honestly felt quite nostalgic playing it, even though I'm sure they didn't intend it to. And like the overall mood of it all, with the first one feeling way more heavy and, you know, constantly raining and very dim, Aiden wanting revenge and very isolated, a way more serious atmosphere, and maybe that's why people could be swayed from this game if they prefer that tone, which is fair enough. It was definitely a clear decision to go the opposite way. Way more personality in the crew and the colour, as I keep saying. The humour as well, for sure. The whole of DedSec just feels like a group of nerdy friends. The humour is probably a bit cringe to some people, but again, they deliberately leaned into that. The hacking side and the mechanics are very strong, but it's the vibe that I'd say matters more in these older games, which makes people remember it so clearly, which this game definitely has. There's also that idea of the theme actually making sense now. You know, data tracking and these massive corporations controlling information, and still a huge topic now. It's in reality. It's definitely all here. I mean, that could be a legit reason for someone wanting to return to it in 2026 if you look into it more. And if we do look more into the gameplay and the overall experimentation with hacking, it always feels so fast and chaotic in terms of traversal when you're outside of a stealthier mission. It's meant to be messy by using all your tools to hack lights and blow up things as you're driving through, which can cause so much havoc with the press of a button, and that's what makes it fun, and it's so fun to explore the map and do that. Even more if, you know, cops come after you and stuff, which is why I can't really go into a proper like review of this game in the usual way of like this is what happens sort of thing, as it's way more to do with the experience and yourself creating these moments like that and just messing about and having fun with it naturally. And I mean, if we do look at the narrative in a general sense, it's kind of standard. I do see it more as a thing along the side to have an actual plot to the game. I wouldn't say it's as complex or narrative driven as the first game was. It doesn't have some powerful ending to it. It runs more as little episodes between the gameplay and that freedom, and it also looks way less at a singular person or a villain and more so like the entire system being corrupt and broken. I feel like the fun characters also make it, even though we don't know an awful lot about them all individually. Whereas Aiden himself was quite built up beforehand in the introduction. But the main goal of it all, narrowed down I guess, is to stop the org called Bloom and trying to expose them for their spying basically. That is pretty much it. I'd say Wrench definitely carries their whole group for me, quite likeable with his whole comedic side even though he's under that mask. But that is pretty much it for the Watch Dogs 2 review in 2026. I think it's clear by now that I definitely do recommend it. I think the only reason being if you don't want to play would be if you don't like that tone compared to the other games. So if you want a more sinister, darker tone, definitely go pick up that first one, and if you've already played it, then I'd definitely say why not check it out even if it doesn't sound like your thing. But that is really the biggest difference. I mean, like I said, Aiden Pierce has way more layers to him. We knew him sort of beforehand because they built him up and just, yeah, really made him like a key character in the game. Whereas I don't think Marcus is nowhere near like that, but it's more him and his crew that make it seem so sort of everyday like they're your friends. And as I said, way less focus on a singular villain or anything, and it's more the fun of it all. But also to me, regardless of the narrative, the only reason I play these games is because of that hacking unique gameplay, which of course this game still has, and they added a few more gadgets as well. And yeah, if you did enjoy it, then let me know by tapping that like button down below. And if you enjoy single player and multiplayer games as well, then that's what this channel does focus on. I have many playlists on a selection of games, so you can subscribe to the channel if you'd like to. And if you want to support me any further, then you can become a member of the channel at either level 1 or 2 to gain access to various perks. Thank you all for the support and watching until the very end. I also have another channel now. I put it on my community post the other day, and it's basically music reactions. I do album reactions because I always used to listen to albums, but I wanted to make a channel and actually listen to new ones. So all the ones that I listen to are going to be new stuff rather than going back. So I'll put that in on the screen now as well. So that was Watch Dogs 2 in 2026, and bye bye.